Welcome, dear listener, to Spirituality in the Brain. I am Vanessa Ancelone, your host, and this segment is all about the latest findings of neuroscience and the teachings of Spiritism. Today, we're talking about spirituality and depression. At the end of the year 2013, the reputable journal JAMA Psychiatry published a very important paper telling about how spirituality or religion may protect against a major depression by thickening brain cortex. A thickening of the brain cortex associated with regular meditation or other spiritual or religious practice could be the reason those activities guard against depression, particularly in people who are predisposed to the disease, according to new research led by Lisa Miller, who is a professor and director of clinical psychology and director of the Spirituality Mind-Body Institute at Teachers College, Columbia University. The study, published online by JAMA Psychiatry, involved 103 adults at either high or low risk of depression based on family history. The subjects were asked how highly they valued religion or spirituality. Brain MRIs showed thicker cortices in subjects who placed a high importance on religion or spirituality than those who did not. The relatively thicker cortex was found in precisely the same regions of the brain that had otherwise shown thinning in people at high risk for depression. Although more research is necessary, the results suggest that spirituality or religion may protect against a major depression by thickening the brain cortex and counteracting the cortical thinning that would normally occur with major depression. The study was published exactly on December 25th, 2013, and it's the first published investigation on the neurocorrelates of the protective effect of spirituality and religion against depression. Dr. Miller said, the new study links this extremely large protective benefit of spirituality or religion to previous studies which identified large expenses of cortical thinning in specific regions of the brain in adults, offspring of families at high risk for major depression. Previous studies by the same laboratory, by Dr. Miller and her team, published in the American Journal of Psychiatry in 2012, showed a 90% decrease in major depression in adults who said they highly valued spirituality or religiosity and whose parents suffered from the disease. While regular attendance at church was not necessary, a strong personal importance placed on spirituality or religion was most protective against major depression in people who were at high familial risk. Quite interesting, dear listener, because this is the first time science is clearly telling us that our cherishing of our spirituality, of our religiosity, is certainly going to protect us from depression. How so? Well, in the Gospel According to Spiritism, which we're celebrating 150 years this year, has a message in chapter 5, Blessed are the Suffering. Item 25 is entitled Melancholy, which at Kardec's time, 1864, it was correlated to depression nowadays. The spirit Francois de Genève says, do you know why a vague sadness sometimes weighs upon your hearts and makes you find life so bitter? It is your spirit which aspires to happiness and freedom, and which, bound to the body that serves as its prison, exhausts itself in vain efforts to escape. However, seeing that such efforts are useless, it falls into despondency, and the body, bearing the spirit's influence, sluggishness, dejection, and a kind of apathy, seizes you and you find yourself unhappy. This is the definition that the spirits gave to the feeling of melancholy, and nowadays we say depression. So the core root of depression, spiritually speaking, is this willingness to find happiness elsewhere, and the spiritual efforts to run away do not get accomplished, and then the physical body resents it by having this neurotransmission changed, and then of course we find ourselves into this state of depression. But the spirit Francois de Genève gives us a very good therapy that goes hand in hand with what science has discovered. He said, believe me and strongly resist these findings that weaken your willpower. The yearnings for a better life are innate in the spirit of all humans, but do not seek them in this world. And nowadays, as God is sending His Spirit to instruct you about the divine happiness reserved for you, patiently await the angel of deliverance, who will help you break the bonds that hold your spirit captive. Remember that. During your trial on the earth, you have a mission that you cannot doubt, whether in dedicating yourself to your family or whether in fulfilling the various obligations that God has entrusted you. If during the course of this trial and while performing your task, you see worries, troubles, and vexations fall upon you, be strong and courageous in order to bear them. Face them resolutely. They are of short duration and will lead you to the friends for whom you weep. They will rejoice at your arrival amongst them and will extend their arms to you to lead you to a place where the afflictions of earth have no access. This is how Spiritism also explains how spirituality and religiosity will lead us into healing of depression and preventing it as well. How? By being patient, by connecting ourselves to God, by fulfilling our tasks, the tasks that God had entrusted us. We need to rescue our relationship with God, to know why we're here, to understand and to find strength in this pathway. So we would recommend, dear listener, find your ways to cherish your relationship with God. Think about God more often, not only through prayers, but reflections. Read passages that will reflect your connection with God. Think about reading the first chapter of the Spirit's book that really rescues our connection with our Creator. Meditation is a beautiful way also to rescue these feelings of our connectedness with God, because our connection with God is abundant in love and will nourish our souls to levels never believed before, and thus protect us from engaging into these feelings of escapism that will lead us into depression. This is it for today, dear listener, and if you have a question or a comment, write to us at KardecRadio.com. We have a contact form and we'll be happy to listen from you. In the meantime, cherish your relationship with God.